I call this meeting of the public hearings on the 2023 budgets for the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District, the Monroe Fire Protection District, and Monroe County, and work session for the Monroe County Council to order for Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. All council members are present in the Nat U Hill room. Please note for the record, Councilor Wiltz is absent. Going to move on to item number 2 on our agenda for this evening, and I'll open it up to the council. Does anyone wish to change, add, or remove an item from tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, I guess we can move forward then. Item number 3, 2023 budget public hearings. Before we begin the public hearing portion of our meeting, I want to set the ground rules for the public hearing. We'll open a certain budget, and anyone who wishes to make comment will be given the opportunity. Those present in the Nat U Hill meeting room will be asked to come up to our podium right up here. Make sure the button is pushed, green light, and sign in. There's a sheet there. After and those who are attending virtually and wish to comment can do so as well. They'll just raise their hand feature on your computer, and TSD will help us administer that. After we review a number of participants wishing to speak, a time limit for each speaker will be set. Tonight we'll be going with 3 minutes. We ask that all those making comments limit your comments to the budget that's open on the floor. Following the public comments, council will have an opportunity to make comment on the budget. Once council is finished with their comments, the public hearing for that budget will be closed. All right, that takes us to the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District and Council. I open the 2023 Monroe County Solid Waste Management District budget for public comment. If anyone wishes to speak on the solid waste management budget, please either step forward to our podium here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand icon now. We'll give just a moment. Seeing no public comment. Last call, Monroe County Solid Waste Management District. Okay, any council comments on this budget? I'll look to my left, to my right. Okay. All right. Seeing no comments, the public hearing for the 2023 Monroe County Solid Waste Management District budget is now officially closed. This takes us to item number B, item letter B. Pardon me, I'm not as good at this as Councilor Wiltz. Council, I open the 2023 Monroe Fire Protection District budget for public comment. If anyone wishes to speak on the Fire Protection District budget, please either step forward to the podium here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand icon now. I see a hand raised on Zoom, and so TSD, if you want to admit that person to make their comment.
I think it's you.
It's me. I want to apologize to the public that the council, Councilor Decker's doesn't know how to do his job. Is there anyone that really wants to make a comment on that, not to make light of this important budget? Okay. Any council comments on the Monroe County Fire Protection District budget? To my left, to my right, seeing none. All right. The public hearing for the 2023 Monroe Fire Protection District budget is now closed. That'll take us to C, Monroe County. Council, I open the 2023 Monroe County budget for public comment. If anyone wishes to speak on this budget, please either step forward to the podium here in the room or raise your hand icon now. All right. Welcome.
Good evening. I'll keep this brief. I'm Lisa Ridge with the Monroe County Highway Department, Highway Director. I'd sign in, but you don't have a sign-in sheet. I want to thank the council for proposing a salary increase to all the county employees and the $2,000 retention bonus supplemental. We appreciate all the efforts from the council during these difficult times. The pandemic year was a hard year. However, I think 2022 has proven to be even harder with inflation. It's hard to put an exact percentage that would be fair and substantiated with today's inflation. I would like to ask the council for one more step and absorb the insurance increase. This will help in the 5% not being lower due to the proposed increase. Over the past couple of years, you had taken on the task of hiring Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy Group to work on job classifications. In 2022, you implemented their plan, which gave many county employees the compensation that was the result of the study, which was a competitive wage for all the positions, and we thank you for that. It is my opinion that this has helped to retain employees. I think it shows in the numbers that I'm going to present to you. In 2020, we lost 14 employees in the highway department. One was retirement. In 2021, we lost 16 employees, only 13 were retirement. And in 2022, we've only lost 5 to date. Again, I just wanted to point out that the steps the council has taken over the past couple of years and continuing to do so is paying off and providing Monroe County with good retainable employees and compensating them as they deserve. We appreciate that you are listening to the concerns of many of the departments and taking action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ridge. Any other comments on this budget here in the room? I do see a hand raised. Now the hand raised is gone and it's not my own. I see it again. It looks like Linda Brady. Linda, if we can admit her.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. I want to echo what Lisa just mentioned about thanking you very much for the increases for the employees. It meant a lot to, especially the long-term employees who were able to retain. I want to also mention, especially for our community corrections field officers, that was a segment of our employees. We were having a hard time retaining and filling those positions. And I want to tell you, for the first time in more than a year, we are at full capacity. We actually have all of those positions filled. And I do credit the new Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy pay scale for helping us with that. And I want to thank you very much for helping to get those positions filled. And hopefully we'll be able to retain people. And I just want to express a lot of thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brady. Any other comments in the room or on Zoom? If so, on Zoom, raise your hand on your screen, and in the room, come forward to the podium. Seeing no other comments, I'll go to council for any comments on this budget. To my right, Councilor McKim.
Thanks. I just want to, I believe Michelle put a copy of our draft 4B on everybody's desk here. And once again, I should have brought my reading glasses, but the number that I want, oh, thank you. The number, thank you. The number one, I really appreciate that. The number I want to call everybody's attention to is the number it's kind of at the lower left-hand corner under the general column, and it's labeled net 2023 revenue. Does everybody see that? And it should be approximately negative $3.367 million. So I just want to make sure everybody understands what that is. That, you know, that is essentially what we are projecting to spend in 2023 over what we're going to receive in revenues in the general fund. You know, that number will vary a little bit because that kind of depends on some of the levy assumptions that we've made here. But by and large, we're talking about, you know, $3.25 million budgeted deficit. So what that means is that we are spending down cash that we have. We're not bringing in revenue to be able to accommodate what we're spending. Now that's perfectly reasonable. We've had a relatively high cash balance, and we'll still have a cash balance that is adequate to support a I think, necessary reserves when we're done with this. And it's appropriate that we're spending some of this cash down, because clearly we are in a time of great need. And as several of our speakers have already mentioned tonight, there are issues, continued issues with inflation and employee retention. So I think it's fully appropriate that we are spending down some of that cash to be able to pay our employees more. I just want to make sure my colleagues all understand that the raises that we are funding, in particular, and the bonuses that we are funding, are not being paid for by revenue coming in. We are spending down our nut that we have earned over, we have brought into the county and saved up over many years. Again, that's perfectly good. We just have to make sure that whatever we do is sustainable. So when we start talking about increasing, giving additional raises beyond one-time bonuses, we have to realize that we are permanently increasing our annual costs, that this supposed one-time deficit will then be carried forward another year and another year. And we need to be able to make sure that if we're granting raises, we're able to sustain them. So I just want everybody to make sure that when we start talking about creating additional cost of living adjustments and resetting salaries, that we understand that we are burning down money that are already brought into the county in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor McKim. Councilor Hawk.
Yes, while we were doing the glass adjustment here, I'm not sure what number he talked about as far as spending down. But I think we should look at the total frozen levy spend down more than receipts, because we know that what we do is we move those dollars back and forth within those different funds within the frozen levy. So we have to make sure that what we recognize as we're literally spending down for over $4 million more than revenue. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so while we still have a correct amount in the operating budget, overall, we know that we're very dependent upon our income tax revenue, and that is not always as stable as the property tax revenue. So I think we have to be, I support it very much, that retention bonus in order to retain and to support our present employees, because we could say it's one time coming out of that cash. But beyond that, we have to be very, as Councilmember McKim alluded to, we have to be very careful what we do, because that's not one time. And it's not just how much the income goes up for each employee, but also all the benefits that's tied to it. So just want us to be aware of that.
Thank you, Councilor Hawk. Any comments from the left? Councilor Iverson.
I just wanted to chime in. I think that Councilor McKim said something really important there, that we are hearing from our department heads that it is very difficult right now to attract and retain the quality staff that we need to be doing to be providing government. And while I really appreciate my colleagues pointing out the fact that the net revenues are in the deficit for this year, I think that this budget is reflective of the fact that we are trying to do two things at once. We're trying to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and we're also trying to make sure that our departments are well resourced to provide the quality services that Monroe County is known for. So I really appreciate the fact that that these things are being pointed out, but I also want to put them in the context of our times that we're living in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
I apologize for a second bite at the apple, but I also just wanted to kind of point out that some of these same kinds of debates, particularly about compensation, or, some of us who follow the local media see that the same debates are playing out at the city, in the context of the city. And I want to explain why they're a little bit different in the county than they are in the city. So, in the context of the city's got all this new revenue from income, from the economic development income tax that's coming in. And it's being proposed to pay for a whole variety of increased new positions, increased services, increased purchases and so on, a whole bucket full of them. And so I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that before adding all these new services and adding all these new positions, that the city ought to take care of its existing employees first. And that's a legitimate argument to be made. In our particular case, although we have that economic development tax coming in, we have already been told by our bond advisors that we absolutely, at least for the moment, we should not spend any of that money on anything other than the new jail that we know we need, because otherwise it might impair our ability to bond for it. I mean, we even had a $30,000 expenditure that we took out in order to make sure that we don't spend one penny of that money. So we don't have this additional source of revenue that could be used for employee compensation that the city has. And I just want to make sure kind of everybody knew why it wasn't the exact same debate that's going on in the city.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, relating to how the city is proposing to spend their additional economic development income tax. We know that the town of Ellisville is counting on that additional new tax coming in for their substantial raises for their employees. We don't have the luxury of using that new tax dollars. Remember, it's still the people's money, folks. It didn't come in for free. But we don't have the luxury of tying that to raises, because we know we have to do something about this jail. We don't know when if that's going to happen, but we know that we can't just be thinking this is money that we can be using for anything. But we could, that ARPA money, that's the reason why I hope someone's done the research to see if we could use any portion of the ARPA money for that one-time retainer dollars, because there was language in that ARPA money after it was first established. It said up to the first, what was it, almost like 10 million you could use for anything, didn't have to be tied to one thing or the other. So maybe we could even do that. But
I agree with you. Again, one time. But
yes, one time only.
Councilor Munson.
I have read a number of examples of other states and counties using ARPA funds just exactly for that purpose. And I'm not ready to cite these, but I have paid attention to how ARPA is being used around the country.
Any other comments from council? I just want to offer comments that I appreciate the constructive words coming from tonight, department heads and from counselors. And I mean, heck, we're sharing ideas and reading classes and all sorts of great things. And I think that's one great thing about how we work, and we're going to keep working and we'll keep moving forward on this. So with nothing else on the public hearing for the 2023 Monroe County budget, it is now closed. I now formally close the 2023 public hearing portion of this meeting, and we'll move on in this agenda to item number 4, 2023 employee compensation. Councilor Iverson.
Council, I wish to open for discussion the retention bonus supplemental in order to give staff clarification as to the procedures needed for clarification of that 2023 salary ordinance.
Do I have a second? There's this motion and a second. I believe we have Ms. Kim Shell to talk to us about this. We have a couple items here.
Good evening, council. I just wanted to make sure that the language that I was going to put into the salary ordinance regarding the retention bonus supplemental was what you actually had voted on last meeting. And so that language, And that's what I was pulling up, and I should have had it ready. Sorry. And I want to share my screen, please. Just so that I'm clear, and when I pass this information on to the departments, that we're all clear. So what I wanted to make sure and understand was that the total amount of distribution as follows, which is a $2,000 for a full-time employee and $1,000 for chief deputy and $1,000 for part-time employees who consistently work 20 hours or greater weekly, and that elected officials are excluded from this bonus. And that there it is. And that the procedures would be, it's the first quarter would be October, November, December of 2022. You are hired on or before October 3rd and paid out the first payroll of January. The second quarter is the January, February, March of 2023. You're hired on or before January 2nd, paid out the first payroll of April. The third quarter is April, May, June 2023, hired on or before April 3rd, paid out the first payroll of July. And the fourth quarter is July, August, and September, hired on or before July the 3rd, paid out the first payroll of October. This supplemental payment is to be submitted separately from the regular payroll claim. And then that way it's just an easier procedure for the payroll administrator. What I want to make sure is it was the section was the hired on or before, that this is a quarterly retention for anyone. So if you are hired from any time within, let's say, October, November, or December, you would need to work January, February, March, and you would be paid then that quarter payment. There was some confusion with regards to the October date being set, and it would only be for those employees hired on or before October would get, moving forward, would get that retention bonus. But I want to make sure, is that what you mean? Or are you speaking with regards to if an employee is hired, works that quarter, then they are eligible for that payment moving forward? Are we talking about new employees as well being paid that retention? There was, I can go both ways, because when we first started that discussion last week, it started out, this is the way we're going to do it. But within that discussion, it was mentioned that this would be a bonus being paid out for new employees as well.
Okay.
So
We'll open it up to council comments. Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I remember specifically that when this was first presented at our last meeting, it was presented that it would be tied to the position and not to the personnel. And there was much discussion going back and forth as to whether or not it would be with the position. It was my thought when those motions were made, and I felt like that we were agreeing that it would be not the position, but the personnel. If you were hired and an employee as of October 3rd of 2022, full-time, you would then get that $2,000 and it would be paid out. And that's where the quarterly conversation came in, when it was going to be paid out. It was not at that point tied to whether or not it was the position or the individual. So that's how I voted. And I'm very disappointed if that's not what everyone thought it was going to be. I guess we had all better listen more carefully, including me.
Counselor McKim.
So I also left that meeting with the same understanding that Counselor Hawk did, but then on going back to the video, and I spent some time today actually watching over it twice. It's ambiguous and you could definitely interpret it either way. And the conversation kind of went back and forth a couple of times. So in this case, unfortunately, Counselor Hawks listening even more carefully wouldn't have helped because I really listened to it very carefully this afternoon. And I don't think it's easy to determine exactly what it is that the council had agreed on. So unfortunately, we are just going to have to take a vote tonight and kind of re-argue the issue if anybody wants to re-argue it. So again, I agree with what Counselor Hawk's position that it was a retention bonus. And we even use the term retention bonus. And that my understanding was that employees who are hired after before October 1st, which was then revised to October 3rd, would be the ones who would be eligible for it. But I again, on re-listening to it, I can see how the wording that's on the screen is also an interpretation.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor McKim. Let's see, Counselor Munson.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the wording, please. I'd like to comment on the wording. Would you please go back to the text? Okay. I think it's not clear that, for example, for each of the quarters, that the people are to be compensated if they are working during that period. So, for example, first retention bonus supplemental procedures. First quarter, listing the months, hired on or before October 3rd and working the months of that quarter.
I kind of put that up in the other part. Employees must be hired on the dates outlined below and actively employed on the last day of the specified
Okay.
quarter.
That-
That's it in the top, sorry.
That helps.
Counselor Iverson.
Yeah, as I went back and watched, my sense of where the council was what I think what Ms. Hawk was talking about. My sense is it's for new employees, and that's partially too backed up by some of the conversations I've been having with folks who've been the department heads who've been saying it's really hard to find qualified staff for highly technical positions. And so for those positions that are highly technical, we want to retain people in those positions as much as possible. And that gets to what Councilmember Hawk was saying is that we want to be retaining those new positions as much as possible. Oh, no.
So
Counselor Daughter's got some comments.
Yes, I'm the one that signs every payroll claim there is. I don't know if you know that I do that, but every single payroll claim now for 6 years I have signed. So my issue with people coming on the payroll and coming off the payroll, of course, is retention. As you heard a highway department person speak earlier, it sometimes feels like a revolving door. We've actually had people who've come and only stayed a few weeks and left in my department as well. Property side person because they took another job someplace else because they could get more money. So I think the question before you guys ask yourself the same question again, that you need to think, is it of value to say a new employee that's only been employed here, we'll say 6 months, to help them out for that third quarter, they get their first, we'll say they get their first payment in the third quarter. Is it as important to retain them as it is to retain employees who were working October 3rd? There is a very real expense in training people. And so I think it becomes a question of what do we qualify as retention? To me, retention is just plain everyday garden variety retention. We want to keep people. If the way you want to do it is to give a bonus for people only employed on October 3rd, I wouldn't even call it a retention bonus. I would just call it a bonus paid quarterly. We're not going to pay it out all at once. We're going to pay it out quarterly. But that bonus would not be to retain everyone. It'd only be to retain the ones currently employed. So I think you have to think in your mind, what do I really want to do with this money? Do I want to retain new employees as well as old employees, or just the employees that we already hired and were sitting in their chairs on October 3rd?
Thank you very much, Auditor Smith. Councilor Munson, did you have a comment?
I did, and when we discussed this at the last meeting, I thought it was both to attract employees to vacant positions and to retain current employees. But the needs of departments vary in regard to retention and filling vacancies. And I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, but I accept that. I definitely want to have a retention bonus for existing employees a la October 3rd.
I was gonna kind of add into the comments to say that it was of a mind somewhat like Councilor Munson, in that I saw this as something that both rewarded those who stay, but also potentially attracted new people to county government. I know that we often hear from people, we need to get people, we're struggling to get people, but I'll defer to greater minds on that. Since this is an ambiguous issue, is there a counselor that wishes to offer a motion to solidify this today? Yeah.
Okay, I am going to make a motion, and I move that we strike the language of the section labeled retention bonus supplemental procedures and replace it with the following. Employees hired before or on October 3rd, 2022 will be paid out in the first payrolls of January, April, July, and October of 2023. The supplemental payment is to be submitted separately from your regular payroll claim.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second on that language as read by Councilor McKim. Yeah, repeat it slow. I want to make sure we get this right.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm just saying,
It's still quarterly.
employees hired on or before October 3rd, 2022 will be paid out in the first payrolls of January, April, July, and October of 2023. The supplemental payment is to be submitted separately from your regular payroll claim.
Okay.
And like I said, I can understand both positions. I'm slightly on the side of my motion, but I understand and appreciate the other perspective as well.
Okay, other comments on this motion? Councilor Iverson.
I would like to hear Michelle's opinion on this conversation as of this point.
That is very clear. I'm clear now. And so I can move forward. Because there, like I said, during that meeting, it was kind of, I wasn't sure. So, but with this, that is very clear. And so if it passes, I did receive a comment from somebody that said, we just started 3 employees yesterday and mentioned the retention bonus, and it helped to make this offer for them to want to join us. So.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shell. Other counselor comments on this motion? All right, we
There's
will-
not- oh, one second.
yeah, we've got,
I was just going to call the question.
we've got public comment first.
Okay.
Councilor Munson.
I would be interested in hearing from other department heads with respect to this proposal.
Department heads, not to put you on the spot. Everybody looks at Lisa Ridge. We appreciate you and your leadership. We're on Zoom. If you have some thoughts on this, we'd love your wisdom.
Actually, Kim just read my text. So, I mean, it was a good selling point. We even actually had one person start a week earlier. At this point in time, we are just down one truck driver, which is what we usually typically are. So we consider ourselves full staffed at this point. And that was a good selling point that they would be looking at bonuses during the quarters if they stay with Monroe County.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from department heads in particular? We'll get to the public in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment. If you are a member of the public and wish to make a comment, either here in the Nat U Hill room, up here at the podium, or on Zoom, raise your hand. No public comments. Wait a second. Okay, we have a motion, a second, and our public comment. The question has been called on this. Do we need a roll call then?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
No.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson.
No.
And Counselor, oh, thank you. And Counselor Crossley.
No.
Okay, as
That's
your
a tie.
secretary, you have a tie.
Motion fails.
Motion,
So the motion fails.
okay, motion fails.
Okay.
Where's our president? I bet she's going to be with Zoom.
She is not here. She is away. So we have a tied, and that will take us, Ms. Turner King, that just takes us back to open floor for any further motion, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. All right. So we have not, we did not pass that motion.
How about an amendment? Can we do an amendment to that motion?
I think we'd have to restate with a different version of it.
That rather than having the beginning date of October 3rd, we have a beginning date to cover the more recent employees, to have it the end of November, the last date of October.
Okay, we have a motion from Counselor Hawk for the last date of November. That'd be November 30th for an onset of this program.
No, it should be October, because how are we going to get that paid out quarterly? It's all going to mess it up.
Yeah, so Friday, October 30th. Is there a second?
I'll second it,
Fix it.
but
Yeah.
you said October 31st, right?
Yeah, should we do it more? If we have people that's just been hired in the last 2 days, I'm open to saying October 10th or whatever to cover the last ones that were just hired.
Well, yesterday would count. I mean, we said October 3rd.
Right.
I guess
Whatever.
my perspective is if we're going to start doing that, then we might as well go with the other interpretation. And it's maybe not just, it's maybe as much assigning as a retention bonus in that case.
I just like to say that what could really happen, and let's look at this because it could really happen, is that someone could get hired and be here for 4 months, collect their 1/4 of $2,000 and be out the door. I mean, they could. And to say that this is somebody who's already here and been employed, then they've always shown their ability to stay with us. So I regret this, but you folks go ahead and make the decision. I feel like this is not what we decided on the other night. I don't think there was anybody here that left this room thinking that we decided on it was going to be on the position and not the person. But once again, perhaps I better question every vote that's taken and have repeated what the motion is, have the chair repeat the motion so we all understand it better.
Okay. So we currently have a motion and a second on Counselor Hawk's motion for an onset date of this program on October 31st. All right, we've got that. Any further discussion? Counselor Crossley.
So I appreciate Ms. Ridge coming up and having her comment that she made. And just like everybody else up here, I think we all have had the similar interpretations of it. But I think that we are, my interpretation, not putting words in anybody's mouth, just me. I think we are thinking, I understand why we have to think of worst case scenario of one individual employee being able to get here, only being here for a certain amount of time and then running away with whatever it is that they get. That things happen. That's unfortunate. But I think that we would be doing a disservice to our departments and those individuals who will truly come here to work for Monroe County and be thankful for the opportunity that they have. And if this is something that they are wanting to do, department heads are using as a way to attract people such as what it sounds like you have, then so be it. And I think that's just how I see it. So I obviously it's not a retention end and we can call it something different. But I just would, yeah, that's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor Crossley. Other comments from council? All right, we've got a Counselor Munson.
Sorry to be late raising my hand. I think maybe we need to separate the two issues of retention bonus and signing bonus. And this might clarify the matter. If we want to have a signing bonus, we should lay out that question in as a separate matter. And
Other comments? We've got, I saw Counselor Hawk first.
I don't know the legal answer to this, but if we use this as a retention bonus and we were hoping we could use it, the ARPA funds for it, if it's not a retention bonus, it's going to be for new hires. That's not quite the same thing. So would that change whether or not we could use ARPA funds? That's just a question. And you know, I don't want to start a disagreement amongst my colleagues. I'm perfectly willing to just remove my amendment and you guys go ahead and do whatever you're going to do. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I hope that if we're thinking we have an opportunity to use ARPA funds, we have to make sure that the language is such that we can. Just my thought.
Counselor McKim.
Well, I was going to say, if we wanted to separate out the signing bonus, then should have voted for my original motion.
Yes.
But since that's already water under the bridge,
You can't bring it back up and vote on it again, can we? I mean, are we legally allowed to?
no, I mean, I suggest, okay, so we have a motion on the floor, which is to extend it to October. And I guess just my position on that is that if we're going to do that, then we might as well support the original, the language that was originally presented here.
Okay, so I'll just
So-
withdraw that.
Well, actually, technically you can't. We got to vote it down, or vote it up.
If I, can't
Yeah,
withdraw it?
it's already been debated on the floor.
Okay.
So
All right.
any further comments on the motion on the floor from Counselor Hawk? Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Munson,
no,
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
No.
Counselor McKim,
No,
Counselor Deckard,
No.
Counselor Crossley.
No.
Motion fails.
all right, council, I move we ratify the existing or the language that's already been presented to us on the screen, which if you wouldn't mind presenting it back on the screen, just so we know exactly what we're voting on. This is I'm moving that we ratify the section labeled retention bonus supplemental procedures.
We have a motion on the floor from Counselor McKim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Comment.
Motion and second. Counselor
I
Hawk.
like the check. Okay, since it was my idea to increase this retention bonus to 2,000, I regret that I'm not going to be able to support this change because I don't think that's how we voted on it to begin with. But I do support in every way our county employees and know that every time we spend money down to reward new people, it doesn't seem like quite so much as a reward for the existing people that have been here for so long. So I just wanted to make sure I made that clear.
Other comments from council? I see Councilor Munson.
I think it would be correct that we don't have to make a decision on a signing bonus tonight. This is something we could do in the future after we have had discussions about ARPA funding. And it is something we can do with an additional appropriation if we would wish to. Is that correct?
Perhaps Ms. Kim Sheld, is there comments on this? I know that the budget has a timeline.
Yes, the budget has a timeline. And we are getting ready to make adjustments with regards to all of those budgets, which includes the changes. So, yeah, I just,
So the
Yeah.
auditor, did you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to say that this is October 4th, and we are counting down just a few days left to finish all of our budgets. Most every county council, the overwhelming majority of them, have their public hearing before AIC in September. So just a few don't. And of all the ones that all the counties that we looked at for elected officials, salaries, the important ones, the ones that we benchmark against, I asked him about those. Every one of those have already been done. And I'm afraid we're making a lot of 11th hour changes that puts more than unusual, more than reasonable stress on Kim and my staff. And Kim can tell me if I'm wrong. I know she worked very hard last night. They worked through AIC they didn't get to go to the AIC events because, and classes because they worked on the budget. And I think that well, I'd like to try to give everybody everything and try to do you guys right, make everybody happy. There's just a point where you have to say it's to 11th hour at this point to make more changes.
I've got a list of counselors who want to talk. Councilor Munson, you want to finish your comments?
I appreciate what Auditor Smith has been saying. And I think what I would be comfortable with would be making a decision tonight on the retention bonus and separating it from a hiring or bonus and letting that hiring bonus be something we would discuss at a future meeting. I'm not concerned about putting it in the budget because I don't think the amount of money is going to be that great. And I don't think it would have a significant effect on our bottom line. And I would ask Councilor McKim to comment on what I just said.
I was going to agree 100% with what Councilor Munson just said. But the only thing we can't change next year's elected official salaries.
Yeah.
Anything else we can do later. So we don't have to fit into this. We don't have to make anybody stay up till midnight to get it into the budget system. If and when we come up with a good policy, we can pass it. And if we need to, we can additionally appropriate, or maybe we wouldn't even need to. So yeah, that's definitely not something we'd want to rush. So I totally agree with.
Okay, returning back to my list, Councilor Iverson.
I want to make 2 points. First of all, the policy that's on the screen right now is on page 3 of tonight's packet. So the motion that we have before us is to ratify what's on the screen. I just wanted to make sure that for the public's sake that you had this language should this pass. The second point that I want to make is that PAC has been tasked with coming up with a referral bonus And that this seems like something that could be given to PAC as well to come up with a coherent policy, and that we could revisit it that way, that, you know, we could come up with something solid and come back to it later in the year or next year.
We have an existing motion on the table. Is there any further
Would you
discussion?
like to read the motion again, please?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on what we're approving.
Yeah. And so
I'm saying,
Yeah.
let's not do this again.
my understanding is this is a motion to adopt the retention bonus supplemental procedures listed in the packet, and I can read that off if it helps.
Yeah, go ahead.
First quarter, October, November, December 2022, hired on or before October 3rd, paid out first payroll of January. Second quarter, January, February, March 2023, hired on or before January 2nd, paid out first payroll of April. Third quarter, April, May, June 2023, hired on or before April 3rd, paid out first payroll July. Fourth quarter, July, August, September, hired on or before July 3rd, paid out first payroll of October. This supplemental payment is to be submitted separately from your regular payroll claims.
Excuse me. I would like you to change the word your to the word the.
The word your,
Ask unanimous consent to make that change.
any objections? So ordered. That's not good. Okay, so we need this motion.
Sorry, just for clarity, the motion includes the amounts set out as well on the screen. So 2,000 for full-time employees, 1,000 for chief deputies, and 1,000 for part-time employees consistently working 20 hours or greater weekly.
Yes, pending future decisions on the public defender and coroner's office. That's, I will make sure we haven't decided that piece yet.
Okay, so on this motion, as it's now been read and clarified, any further discussion or motions related to it? Okay, so we will go to a roll call vote.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
No,
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1.
All right, thank you very much. Can we take just a 5-minute recess just for a second and then come back together at the call of the gavel here in just a moment? All right, we're going to go ahead and do that. Courthouse bell says it's time to come back. I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We are still on item 4, 2023 employee compensation. Michelle, I believe you have other items that you need clarification from the council on.
Yes, I do. And one of the issues I'm going to turn over to Molly with regards to the public defender, right? Yeah, isn't that where we're at?
So we're considering how to apply the retention bonus to the public defender's office, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the public defender, the chief public defender is not an elected official. He has a chief deputy, but there is no statutory authority for him to have a chief deputy. So in essence, the chief public defender is a department head and his chief deputy is an employee. Based on the language that just was adopted, that would mean that each of those respective positions would receive a $2,000 supplement retention bonus. There was some question, though, as to whether the chief public defender, whose salary mirrors that of the prosecutors, would be treated in the same manner as the prosecutor. The guidance that the guidance that the public defender's salaries mirror that of the prosecutor's office comes from the comprehensive plan that the Public Defender Board adopts under the Indiana Public Defenders Commission. There's a section in there that dictates salaries, and that says that the public defender salaries will mimic that of the prosecutors. So if his salary is to mimic the prosecutor and the elected officials do not receive the supplemental, the question is, what do you do with the chief public defender and his chief deputy?
All right, questions been given to the council. What are we doing here? Any comments? Counselor McKim's got his green light on.
You're only a game show host. How long?
Well, gotta have some talent, right?
You know, I mean, from the perspective of the chief public defender, I'm not sure there's anything, I mean, if his salary is supposed to mirror the prosecutor, which I know we've had this debate over years and years and years, and we've definitely come to the point where it does mirror, it is supposed to mirror the prosecutor. We probably have to kind of treat him like an honorary elected official in this case, and not provide the bonus, not provide the retention bonus.
Absolutely.
The chief deputy public defender now, I'm not quite sure what to do about that, so I'm interested in others' opinions on that. I mean, you know, there's do we treat that person as a regular full-time employee at $2,000, or do we treat them as a chief deputy at $1,000?
As the chief deputy. Going to.
Make sure your mic's on.
If you're going to make the public defender mirror the prosecutor, and that person would not receive the 2,000, and I agree with that, then the chief deputy would, and you're trying to have them mirror what the other elected officials, the other departments would be, their chief deputy would be the 1,000.
So is the chief deputy public defender, is his, remind me, is his salary, is their salary tied to the chief public defender?
Yes.
So they are more like a chief deputy.
Right. The chief public defenders matches the elected prosecutor, and the chief deputy public defender mimics the chief deputy prosecutors'
Okay.
salaries.
Okay, so they are more like a chief deputy than just a quote unquote regular employee.
Correct.
Okay.
Other comments, Counselor? Any over here? All right, to my left. So do we need a motion here solidifying what Counselor McKim has offered?
Yes, because I will need something with regards to being able to put this in the salary ordinance to go along with this the supplemental bonus information.
Okay, council, I move that the chief public defender is not eligible for the retention bonus, and the chief deputy public defender is eligible for a $1,000 retention bonus.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments on this motion?
Just only that this is in no way trying to disparage the chief deputy public defender or anything like that, or the chief public defender. We're just trying to make this fit in with the other constraints that we had on salaries.
Yeah, Counselor Hunt.
It's always difficult when we're trying to make it fair across the board, and we're finding out being fair is not always the easiest thing to do. But I also wanted to question, do we take public comment on this motion?
I think we will once we have.
Okay,
further
I just wanted
counsel.
to
Yeah, that's a good point.
ask.
Auditor Smith.
Yes, Counselor McKim, I was wondering if you would consider adding to your motion a delineator in the beginning that says in order to make equitable the salaries of the two positions, and you call out the positions, prosecutor, public defender, comma, this motion. Does that make sense? Of delineate either before or after? so that down the road, when someone reads this 10 years from now, they will understand why this motion was made separate.
I mean, it's sort of the equivalent of a whereas clause in a, I mean, I don't object to having some kind of explanation, but I would encourage maybe that to be done as a footnote. Like we have other
For the minutes.
footnotes, and you can bring that footnote in the salary ordinance when we, that's wordsmith. I don't want to try to wordsmith it right on the floor, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't disagree in principle. No.
Other council comments? Councilor Munson?
I think the footnote idea is just perfect, and that will make it concrete.
I'm going to go now. If there's no other council comments, I'm going to open it up for public comments. So either here in the Nat U Hill, come up to the podium, or on Zoom, raise your hand. Seeing none, I think we're set for a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. All right. And we also have a matter for the coroner's office. Ms. Turner King or Michelle, are you wanting to speak on this?
The coroner's office currently has 4 part-time deputy coroners. Per the language that you ratified regarding retention bonus, a part-time employee consistently working 20 hours or greater weekly would qualify or be eligible for a $1,000 bonus. The coroner's office, the deputy coroners do not submit timesheets. So the coroner has indicated that the deputy coroners consistently work greater than 20 hours weekly. However, there is not any time record as evidence. So the question becomes, how do you want to do the retention bonus for the deputy coroners who are part-time?
Open it up to councilor comments. Councilor McKim.
The coroner and, by extension, the deputy coroner has always been difficult to fit into various salary guidelines because what they do is just inherently demand driven. I mean, it's not, they don't punch a clock. They don't work a set number of hours. They just do on call. And if they get called, they get called. And if they don't get called, they don't get called. My inclination would be to treat them like part-time employees and be eligible for the part-time employee retention bonus. That certainly seems like a position that we want to retain people. We want to retain people in. And yeah, I guess that's what I'd say. I'd be inclined to support just treating them like the part-time employees.
Okay. I see Councilor Iverson.
Yeah, I think it's clear that they are part-time employees, given the definition that we just ratified. And I guess the question isn't so much as do they qualify, but how do we pay them? And I looked to the language that we just passed that said that supplemental payment is to be submitted separately from regular payroll claims. So is there a method by which we can make these to these individuals that's separate and beyond those folks who don't use standard timesheet records?
The deputy coroners are paid quarterly through payroll. She submits that quarterly. So that would be, she would just continue to the same way. She would just submit it separately during the quarter. And I can't, and I.
So yes, I look at the claims that are presented. Every quarter, a claim comes in for these individuals, and they're paid one paycheck. It covers the entire quarter. Almost the exact same thing will happen for these bonuses. one paycheck will come in, or one claim will come in every quarter for the people in that department, and it will be paid. So quite frankly, it'll be paid very similarly to the way they're already paid.
There you go. Okay.
Any further comments? We have a motion and a second from Counselor McKim.
Actually, I don't think I
There's not
made
a
that
motion
motion.
here.
That was just a
I'm
discussion
sorry.
point.
I'm sorry, my bad. Do we have a motion from council on this? Counselor Iverson.
Council, I move that we clarify that the coroner's office deputy coroners should be classified as part-time as it pertains to this supplemental.
Second,
Got a motion and a second. And I'll open it up for comments from counselors. Counselor Munson.
I would like to amend that motion by specifying that they are part-time, working an equivalent of 20 hours or more a week.
Is that a friendly
Friendly.
amendment?
Okay.
Is it accepted?
It is accepted.
Okay, do we need to ratify that? The motion? Just a second. So we've got a motion, it's accepted, or amendment accepted with the second on a friendly. So any further comments on this motion?
yeah, I was wondering if I was the only one who was thinking that was ambiguous. And obviously, Councilor Munson picked
Let's
it up.
avoid ambiguity, huh?
We don't want to make the same mistake again.
Right, right.
Do we need to have a vote on the addition of her amendment
No,
to
he-
the amendment?
He accepted the amendment to it. So
Right.
now, if there's no other council comments on this, I'm going to open it up to public comment on this motion we have on the part-time assistant coroners. Any comments? Those of you in the room, you can come up to the podium, or those on Zoom, just raise your hand. Seeing none. Any further council comment? We'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous. And thank you very much for all that. I appreciate it.
Sure. So that takes us away from item number 4, and it moves us on to item number 5, which is the 2023 Monroe County budget amendments to departmental budgets.
Council, I move to approve the amendments to the 2023 budget as follows. Buckle up, this is a lot of reading. In the general fund 1000, the personnel category from 32,956,444 to 33,836,487 for a new grand total of 44,581,782.
Just. do
All right. In the aviation fund 1107, in the personnel category from $758,543 to $778,997 for a new grand total of $1,373,047. In lit special local income tax special purpose fund 1114 in the personnel category from $3,030,054 to $3,115,098 for a new grand total of $3,833,674. In the clerk's perpetuation fund 1119 in the personnel category from $80,927 to $83,080 for a new grand total of $3,833,674. In the cumulative bridge fund 1135 in the personnel category from $397,440 to $408,205 for a new grand total of $1,851,300 $386. In the cumulative capital development, Fund 1138, in the personnel category, from $745,564 to $760,635 for a new grand total of $4,346,635. In the health department, Fund 1159, in the personnel category, from $1,451,767 to $1,508,822 for a new grand total of $2,054,819. In the public safety lit fund 1170, in the personnel category, from $2,324,142 to $2,379,583 for a new grand total of $3,797,175. In the motor vehicle highway fund 1176, in the personnel category, from $3,575,983 to $3,666,409 for a new grand total of $6,509,413. In the plat book, Fund 1181, in the personnel category, from $79,469 to $81,622 for a new grand total of $84,122. In the stormwater management, Fund 1197, in the personnel category, from $905,599 to $929,282 for a new grand total of $2,538,784. In the public defender supplemental fund 1200, in the personnel category, from $1,135,840 to $1,155,217 for a new grand total of $1,155,217. In the surveyor's corner perpetuation fund 1202, in the personnel category, from $75,234 to $78,464 for a new grand total of $144,464. In the local health trust fund 1206, in the personnel category, from $70,639 to $72,792 for a new grand total of $75,222,000. In the election fund 1215, in the personnel category, from $613,042 to $621,654 for a new grand total of $1,110,754. In the reassessment fund 1224, in the personnel category, from $108,727 to $109,804 for a new grand total of $836,654.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Counselor McKim.
Just to explain to the public that wonders why we read off all these random numbers, this is just basically instantiating the policy that we've already voted on and passed with respect to the retention bonus supplementals. And now, will this also need some cleanup for the coroner and so it's kind of a moving target, but.
Right, yeah. And I kind of knew that going in. So yeah, this includes like full amounts. So yeah, I will have those tweaked up at the first reading.
First reading, okay. But this gets us close at least.
Right.
Other comments from council? Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I thought, and I mean, I only had a brief second to look at it, but there was something about an email from something about you had not added on and made the adjustments for the elected officials, and that was going to be happening later. So I just want to make sure Has that already been corrected and added into this? No.
No,
so These
no.
are still not.
When, the template that you guys approved, is not reflected in this, with regards to the commissioners, the council, the surveyor, and with regards to the supplementals with the clerk and the auditor. So there was some, I had totally just spaced that, working on this retention bonus part of it. So that's another item that I will be working on to tweak for the October 11th.
But this is not the supplemental we're talking about. We're talking about their actual salaries have not been adjusted in here.
Correct.
So whatever we do with this, doesn't matter, we still got to redo it. Right?
Councilman McKim.
But just to, then to clarify, the numbers that you have here match what we see in the 4B.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so you will be making some minor, I mean, they're relatively immaterial in the grand scheme. of
In the
things.
grand
You'll be
scheme,
making a
yes.
couple of minor changes that will then result in a couple of these fund budgets going up a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah, it'll probably mostly be in the general fund is where
Okay.
you'll see the change.
Just include any of the raises for like commissioners. Right?
Right, that's what it sounds like.
So
So,
that's not minor.
so this is going to be a little bit short. And then when you, and those changes also haven't been made to the detailed spreadsheet that you sent out
No,
today. Okay.
no.
So once all those changes are made and cleaned up, can we make sure that a copy of that goes out on the council budget webpage for public and media and so on to be able to
Yes.
retrieve? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Other comments from council? Seeing none, we're going to open it up for public comment. Anyone here in the Nat U Hill can come up to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Okay.
Okay.
Seeing no comment. We will now go to a roll call vote.
We're not going to do a roll call vote. We're not in the process of a roll call vote.
Oh, we're not.
This is sort of like
This is just
kind of
to,
the
This
same
is,
thing as a budget here, budget work
so
session.
we're just stating this. We do not need a vote to adopt that.
I don't think so.
I think a voice vote because it's, yeah, it's amendments to like your budget sessions is what
Yeah,
it is.
it's
So
voice.
yes, just a voice vote is sufficient.
So basically,
Just
to-
as a heads up, I've not been voting on these budgets as during this whole work session portion. I've just been, because the whole point is we're supposed to be putting budgets together, wait for what the public has to say, come back together, first reading, second reading, then we vote.
yeah,
Right.
The rest of it is
we're voting to accept these changes.
Just,
Am I
yeah,
right?
just let me know to move forward with it.
Okay, all right, we have to, at some point, we have to do this. Any other comments? All right, so we need a vote, no
Voice-
vote?
yeah.
Ms. Turner King, you're the expert. What do we do here? Vote or not?
been able to pass out.
I am not 100% sure
Okay.
about looking at it, but I mean, it's not the final accepting of budget. So if you wanted to do a voice vote just to give Ms. Kim guidance to make those amendments, I think that is fine because this is not the final adoption of the budget.
Counselor Munson.
I will offer a motion to affirm the numbers that have been presented to us regarding changes in the budget as guidance for our assistant, Ms. Shell.
Just to clarify, we already have a motion on the
Yeah.
floor.
Oh, I didn't know there was a motion.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was read as a motion,
motion.
as
Yeah.
one very long motion.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
Just do a voice vote unless somebody wants a roll call.
Okay,
That's
maybe
the way
we
we've
need a-
done-
And we have a second, right?
Yes.
I second it.
I thought we were lacking.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. Abstentions? Okay. Motion passed. Okay, that will move us on to item B. Are there any further changes or corrections to any of the 2023 Monroe County budgets? Counselor Munson,
Am I the only one?
only hand I
Suggest-
see so far.
Okay. So this time I really do want to make a motion. And this is as a follow-up on an idea I raised at our last meeting regarding compensation for probation officers, specific to the probation department's retention issues. Chief Probation Officer Linda Brady is attending our meeting on Zoom, and Deputy Chief Probation Officer Troy Hepfield is here in person to help us answer questions or offer comments. So I move that we increase the 2023 salary for probation officers by the same percentage of their current annual salary as other Monroe County employees, which is 5.0%, in order that these probation employees will be compensated equally with other Monroe County employees. This increase is expected to help with retention of probation officer employees who perform a significant part of our justice system, and also for attracting probation officer applicants to fill the vacancies. The state mandated increase for probation officers for 2023 is 3.33% compared to the proposed higher 5.0% COLA of Monroe County. The difference is 1.67%. The county budget fiscal impact for 2023 would be a total of $67,959 for all 6 probation department funds. I could read the fund numbers and amounts for each fund if this information is desired now or needed. And I also have additional information to share with you all.
Second.
And there's a motion and a second. Open it up for discussion from counselors. Counselor McKim.
Without even getting to the substance of the motion yet, I'm going to say that this is a change of enormous impact, and that affects or that goes against decades of precedent. And that's not a reason to not do it. But I do think that it's a big enough change that it should not be done on a first reading of an amendment made on the floor that's not even on the agenda. So I am, regardless of the substance of it, I'm opposed to taking a vote tonight.
Thank you, Counselor McKim. Other comments? Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I agree. If this was something that the council wanted to explore, it should have been done during the earlier work session portion of preparing our budget. The other very important thing for us to note is that we have not seen as yet a 3-year projection of where we're going to be, taking into consideration what our planned expenditures are now, what we think that they are going to grow to in the next 3 years, and what our revenue is going to be over the next 3 years. And that is, I mean, if part of what the auditor's training session was in this past year was that it should be over a 3-year period. I took that training, didn't even realize I was listening to the auditor's portion. But so I'm looking forward to that being presented to us before we have a final vote. But certainly it is something we need to look at, because just because we have some cash sitting there now does not mean that we can grow our ongoing expenses without knowing where we think we're going to be 3 years out.
Counselor Iverson.
Thank you. The reason that I am in favor of this motion is that, first of all, I'm a liaison to the probation department. And I think on the substance of this is that we consistently hear from this department that the vacancies are pretty substantial. And the roles that these positions play in our community is absolutely vital. As of yesterday, there are 6 department staff vacancies, community corrections probation officer, 3 enhanced supervision unit adult probation officers, 1 adult probation officer, and a support staff member. And it's very difficult to attract people to this line of work. And as we are working with this department, I think this is one of the tools that we can use to make sure that the department has the resources necessary to do the work. And I really want to applaud the folks out there. They're doing this work. They're doing a great job. And it really plays into what we're trying to do in terms of community justice reform in our community. If we don't have probation officers on staff to do this work, we simply are not going to be able to provide the work that we say that we need to be doing in the community for community justice. Now, I hear that, you know, the objections to this based on precedent, and I think it's certainly worth looking at where we are right now in our community justice reform efforts, and using this as an opportunity to take a hard look at this might be something that we want to be doing because we are at that point in our community. I'm very thankful for the probation department for giving us a fiscal impact report. And I think that has shown that this one tool that we're discussing tonight would have a definable amount that we can look at, and that it won't it be too substantial. So I think I've gone well over my 3 minutes here, but I wanted to give some of my thoughts on this motion.
Councilor McKim.
I don't disagree with anything Counselor Iverson just said about the value of the probation officers and the difficult job that they do. I'm just saying, I will say though that everything that he said about the hard work and the fact that there are a lot of people who don't, it's hard to find people who want to do the work, also applies to another department that has approached us, and that's the corrections officers. And I feel like if we're going to pull this thread, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to come loose. And I think it's really difficult to consider this one particular motion in, you know, out of the context of a couple of the other departments that we've had issues in compensation with. Corrections officers being number one, but also the merit deputies as well. And there may be others, but so I'm really concerned. And then also the other issue is that, you know, we've already talked about the fact that we're basically spending down cash to even give the bonuses that we are, to then add substantially to the base of our salaries that'll, you know, they'll then be continued next year and next year and next year. I think needs some more thought as well. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'd like to see that 3-year analysis that Councilor Hawk asked for. And I'd also like us to make sure that we take this proposal kind of in the same context as proposals that we've heard from some of our collective bargaining units.
Thank you, Councilor McKim. Councilor Munson, did you have a comment?
I would like to follow up with some additional comments. First of all, my motion was for the fiscal year 2023. It wasn't a change for all years. And that is recognizing that much of our discussion tonight has been focused on equity for our various employees. And that is something that I didn't know that we could change in regard to probation officers, but it is something that we can change. Looking at the history of raises for probation officers, the state sets a minimum, and sometimes the state minimum is lower than the counties. Sometimes it is higher than the counties. Going back over the years, there was for from 97 through 2003, a procedure whereby probation officers were granted either the highest of either the state or the county's increase in salary. For various other years, it has been a mix. Sometimes the state has been highest, sometimes the county has been highest. And so there have been inequities in the past that I didn't know that we could really change. I thought it was a procedure. So that is on me for not knowing that. But I think it's something that not all council members do know, that this is possible to make a decision on by the council. The historical precedent for matching the salary of the counties has not been used in the past. It has been either the highest of the state or it has been just whatever the state has, the highest of the state or the highest of the county for those 7 years, or it has been whatever the state has granted. But these are Monroe County employees, and the work that they do in our county is essential, and I would like to see them treated as fairly as we have been trying to do for our other employees. And if I could enter into proposals that would affect our correction officers and our merit deputies, that would be different. That is not something that is in the council's domain to change the contracts. That is something that the commissioners have as their responsibility. So that's my reasoning, and I'm sorry it's late, but it's late because I didn't know that it was possible to make changes.
See Councilor McKim's.
I want to say, as far as the corrections officers and the merit deputies, county council appropriates the budgets and the county council passes the salary ordinance. So, so we absolutely have, have an essential role there. But I did want to make sure I understood something that Councilor Munson, you were saying about only for 2023. So this is really a bonus then. It's just this is not actually, because we have no ability to set the state salary schedule.
We don't know that. It is to make next year's compensation for probation officers equal with our other employees. Again, it's an equity issue. And I didn't want to tie our hands for the future.
Okay, so, but I guess what I'm saying is that really does just make it a bonus, doesn't it?
It's like it's a bonus to them because of.
It's a one-time, but if it's a one-time commitment, is it one time or isn't it one time?
No, I said it for 2023.
Okay,
So you can call it a bonus.
thank you.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I'd want to go back and study exactly what language is. But when this was introduced by the state to set up these different amounts that's required to be paid to probation officers, I think there was something on there that the county could not reduce a salary. So I would want to make certain that if it's being proposed that we just raise their salaries for 1 year and then the following year we're going to reduce it, that doesn't really feel like a salary. To me, that feels like a bonus. And we have to be prepared then that with our merit deputies, if they want more bonuses on top of their bonuses, we really need to look at our projections and where we are. I'd like to make sure we give everybody a bonus. I mean, we almost got into that before. Let's see how much we can do, but.
Councilor Iverson.
I really appreciate those comments, and I think we do need to look at the statute. In fact, Ms. Turner King has looked at the statute, which is Indiana Code 1113-1-8. And other counties have looked at this issue as well. In fact, the number of counties that have done this, where they've increased PO salaries above the state minimums, include Johnson, Madison, Hamilton, Allen, Delaware, Grant, Hendricks, Wayne, Vanderburgh, Marion. There's a lot of counties that are trying to reach equity for their POs, and I think that if they're doing it, certainly there's room for us to be doing it as well.
Other comments, Counselor McKim?
I will say that, I mean, we have already, so this year, we have already made the decision to restore longevity to the probation officers. So they are getting that, and we are giving them the $2,000 bonus that applies to every county employee. So, you know, I think there has been some definite recognition of the importance of probation officers. So would this be entirely in addition to this bonus be entirely in addition to the $2,000 bonus? So it'd be on top of that?
Yes, my motion is that this is in addition to what we have previously approved. I didn't know what our approvals were going to be, but it is in addition to what we have previously approved. And it is making up the difference between the state 3.33% and our 5.0%. It is a small bonus, 1.67%, but it does even the compensation field for our employees.
I just wanted to add, in addition to Counselor Hawk's point, in reading the 2023 minimum salary schedule for probation officers published by the Judicial Conference of Indiana, there is a statement within that memorandum that says departments shall not reduce the salaries of probation officers who are paid above the minimum salary schedule.
And that was going to be my question. Are we going to have then a second bonus line for them? Because we don't want to include it in their compensation.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Hey, Counselor Hawk?
And we also know,
Your mic.
Can you turn your mic on?
we also know that in that language for probation officers, they receive, is it another 5% increase if they have a certain amount of education that is
That's true.
approved by the judges of the court, or however that's worded. And so that is already a 5% more than the other county employees receive.
No, it's not that.
You know, maybe we should do an education bonus for the county employees. But I think this is worthy of great discussion
Mhm.
and at an appropriate time. But to be doing it on the fly like this without a lot of, and especially with the council president not present, I just.
Counselor Munson?
I'm not flying. And I think it would be appropriate here to hear from Chief Probation Officer Linda Brady regarding the education bonus, so that we have good information about that. And I hope she is still.
Before we go to Ms.
Online.
Brady, I can read the guidance from the 2023 minimum salary schedule published by the Judicial Conference of
Good.
Indiana.
Seen
It
that.
says probation officers having a master's or doctorate degree from an accredited college or university in a relevant course of study as determined by the supervising judge, and a minimum of 5 years as the Indiana probation officer shall receive an additional 5% of their base salary each year. For example, The minimum salary for a probation officer with 5 years of experience in 2023 would be $52,662. If that officer had a master's degree, then the minimum salary would be $55,295 in 2023.
Thank you very much. I would invite Linda Brady to come on and talk to us on this matter. What can you add to our discussion?
Okay, thank you. Molly just said exactly what it is as far as the education. We follow the schedule just as exactly as Molly read it. So POs who have 5 years of experience as a probation officer plus a master's or higher would qualify for the 5% above. So we follow that exactly to the letter. A couple of things I did want to point out. You had mentioned about being concerned about correctional officers. And as I am concerned about the correctional officers and the turnover, Sam Crow had spoken at a public meeting and said that for 2023, that their starting salary for correctional officers will be $45,000. And I want to note that that is higher than probation officer's salary by quite a bit certainly for an entry level. And we have to have a 4-year degree for a probation officer, whereas a correctional officer does not. And I'm not trying to compare the two jobs. I'm just saying that their starting salary, the council has made some real progress with their starting salary at the $45,000 mark for next year. And so there has been some movement made for correctional officers for retention on that. Also, one thing you mentioned about you can't lower a probation officer salary. This has been done with other county employees where perhaps you may not lower a salary, but you could freeze a salary. So if that's an acceptable thing. So Troy can explain that a little bit better because I was trying to explain this to Jeff earlier and he said I was making things worse with my explaining. So Troy is a better explainer on that. So if he's still there, Troy, or is he still there? He could explain that it's basically you can freeze it if into future years.
Okay. Mr. Hatfield?
Yeah, hi, Troy Hatfield, Deputy Chief Probation Officer. And actually, as you saw up on the screen, the salary schedule that was up there. If you notice in 2023, the starting salary, the entry level salary is $38,107. If the council decided today that for 2023, an entry level is going to be $40,000. Next year, the Judicial Conference puts out another salary schedule and maybe it moves 3%. Well, that entry level would move to $39,341. It would still be below that $40,000 you might set for 2023. You have the option to just freeze that entry level salary at $40,000. You could increase it by another percentage. You just can't lower it. If you choose to make it that level at $40,000, you can, like Linda said, you can freeze it the next year to allow the scale to catch up to whatever level you set it at 2023. So, but yeah, the salary schedule does not permit reducing, but whatever level you set for each one of those years of experience, you can certainly freeze that in future years if you choose not to institute a 3%, 4%, or whatever COLA that might be granted to county employees in future years. Hopefully that makes a little sense, but.
While we have Ms. Brady and Mr. Hatfield here, is any questions as follow-up?
I did want to clarify too, as far as is this a bonus or not? And with the difference obviously between a bonus and a salary increase is with the salary increase, it goes towards your perf as well. With the bonus, it does not. And so with the 3.33%, that's a salary increase, which also goes towards the perf. And if I understand what Councilor Munson's saying, adding the 1.67%, I didn't hear her say that as a bonus. It was more the same thing with the salary increase. But your point's well taken. Are you concerned about future years? But hopefully, what Troy is saying, that you're not committing yourself to future years, and you do have the option of freezing as long as you don't go below the state minimum salary schedule, you can freeze.
That was a good clarification. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, Jeff. When I tried to explain it earlier, I had it right in my head, but couldn't explain it to you. Sorry about that.
But the perf distinction is a good one also to make sure we keep in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
know.
thank you very
Well,
much. So we've had some comments and questions. Counselor Hawk.
Right, just as a reminder, when we're looking at what the other counties might be doing, something that this county did for our probation officers many years ago was that we gave, as a form of a raise that year, we gave everybody, we matched their perf. So that, in a lot of other counties, the county employees and probation officers have to pay into that perf. In this county, it's matched. So that was like a 3% raise at the time, seems to me, as we were discussing it, and which they still have. They still have that matching for the perf. They don't have to pay the match. So when you're looking and trying to compare us to other counties, we have to look at that because that's a substantial difference. That I wish we had started this discussion, at the beginning of budget session, so that we could look at the total package.
Okay. Other comments? I see Counselor McKim, then I.
And I just wanted to say again that I am still open to some kind of proposal like this. I'll make the motion when debate's done to table. I don't know if that'll pass or not, but I encourage you all to support at least tabling it to give it a little bit more study. But I mean, I think the problem is real. And some of the arguments that have been made have moved my thinking on this.
I appreciate that, Counselor McKim. Other comments, Counselor Iverson?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick point that, as we're talking about what other counties are doing, it is important to look at the complete package, but it's also important to note that our employees also see the difference that they can make by moving to another county and taking their employment elsewhere. I think we need to be cognizant of that. I certainly think that given some of the arguments that we've heard tonight and some of the debate we've had, which I think has been really healthy, I think this is really good to get this out into the public, that I would also entertain a motion to table.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor Iverson. Other comments? Well, I'll entertain a motion. Counselor Munson.
I would certainly welcome a motion to table because it is complicated and we all want to have as much information as possible before we vote. And it's certainly a worthwhile question before us.
Okay. Thank you for that motion, Counselor Munson, to table this item. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Iverson. Motion and a second. If I could add to the discussion a little bit, the probation department is always on my mind because I always receive those very pertinent messages from this department about the status of who's not able to work because look, we've got a vacancy, we've got an issue. I appreciate the sentimentality of trying to treat this department and these county employees that are our people as much as possible similar to other county employees as we would want to be treated in that position. So I appreciate very much this effort. Sounds like we've got a motion to table this to give us that effort. This department always comes here with great information, data. As I always say, you could eat off their floors. The data's so clean and well tended. And you can't argue with that, right? So any further discussion? We've got a vote now on this tabling public comment on that. Any comments from the public on this motion to table this agenda item? I see one hand coming up, Linda Brady.
Sorry, so I was muted. Just to let you know that I'm available and so is Troy. If there's any questions you have or if you want to meet, sometimes it's easier in person than Zoom about these questions. So we're happy to answer any other questions anytime. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brady. Any other comments from the public, either in the room or on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll go to a voice vote. All those in favor of tabling this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you very much. And I appreciate all the counselors' work on that efforts behalf. Any other comments from council regarding 2023 Monroe County budgets in general?
I have a comment.
Ms. Turner King.
As a reminder, when the council considered the 2023 clerk's voters registration budget on September 8th, the budget was tentatively passed with the idea that the 2022 salary ordinance conversation would also lend valuable to the 2023 budget conversation. At the September 27th meeting, the council approved a salary ordinance to the 2022 salary or approved a salary amendment to the 2022 salary ordinance, adding a voter registration per diem for the clerk in the amount of $6.50 per day for 246 days. Based on that salary amendment, if the council wanted to revisit the 2023 voter registration budget, now would be the appropriate time. I believe currently for the 2023 budget, the voter registration per diem is set in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you. Comments from council or thoughts? Essentially, you're saying make into, the option would be to put into the 2023 budget what we've done for 2022.
Yeah.
Quiet nodding.
We're required to do something.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need a motion here then essentially to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Any motion?
Sure.
Councilman Munson.
I move we set the voter registration per diem in the 2023 budget to the amount of $4,000 per year. Is that correct?
Is your motion to set the amount to $4,000 per year?
Isn't that what you said?
The 2022 amount is $650 per day for 246 days, which I think averages to 1,599.
Okay, so it wasn't the same amount.
It's not the same amount. For 2023, it's at 4,000. For 2022, the salary amendment that passed was for $650 for 246 days, which equals 1,599.
Okay, let me revise that, please.
Thank you.
I wish to set the rate of $6.50 for a total of 246 days for the year 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And just to clarify, that is the fund, the election fund, Fund 1215, location 0010, and line 17796, voter registration per diem. So that, my understanding is that the motion is to set that as $1,600. Is that right?
Okay. All right. We've got a motion and a second with additional clarification by Councilor McKim on the fund line.
$1,600.
And a dollar amount too. Any comments from council? Further comments from council? And open this up to members of the public, either here in the Nat U Hill room or on Zoom. Signify by raising your hand and we will hear your comments. Seeing none, we will now move to a vote on this motion. You want roll call on this? All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Yes.
Counselor Hogg, yes. Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
I see no other comments on 2023 Monroe County budgets. So I'm going to move us on to item number 6, and that is council comments.
Oh, wait, did Mr. Turner King not have any others?
Did you
Is
have
that the
other-
only thing you had?
any? You good? Good. We will remember that for a minute, right? All right, that will take us to council comments. Any further comments from the council? To my left, Peter Iverson.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the public that the Indiana Mental Health Summit is coming up in 2 weeks. There's going to be a number of us here on the council and Monroe County staff members that are going to be going, including some judges as well. And I wanted to encourage folks to read the Indiana Behavioral Health Commission's report. It's a really great document that details not only the impact of mental health in our state, but also it gets a really good attempt at trying to quantify the financial impact of mental health in our state. So I think that's going to be a really good document for us to keep in mind, and not only as we're going to these Indiana Mental Health Summit, but also as we're looking ahead to the legislative session starting in January.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Iverson. Other comments? I would just put out the general announcement. Remember, making sure that you're registered to vote is a very important part of your civic duty. Hold officials such as myself and all the others up here accountable with that. Go to indianavoters.com to do that and exercise your right. Make sure that you do. And I think that is it. I just want to thank all counselors for the efforts and work today and your patience with me as always. You know how much that's worth. So thank you, counselors. Have a great rest of your night. We are adjourned.